Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead, and it is reckoning day. It is today that I am going to harvest my sweet potatoes, and we are going to see how we've done this year. But not only are we going to harvest our sweet potatoes, but then we're going to take a step back afterwards and we see what we get, and to kind of evaluate it and see how we've done better. And I think this is a really important step, because once we get everything out, we get a clear picture of what's going on in the bed. So this is our jungle, and there's a couple things we did differently this year. So first thing we did is we planted more sweet potato slips in a 4x8 bed. And then the other thing too is we did not water a lot, but we did get we got that Hurricane Debbie. We got about, I think it was like 13 inches of rain or something stupid like that. So we're gonna see what kind of effect that had, but after that we didn't really water much at all afterwards. So let's dig in and see what we got. I got these pruners last year before we get started, and man, they just look at water and they rust. I spent good money on these too. I tell you what, I'm not sponsored by, what is it, Friskers or Friskus or whatever, but I mean, dude, I had those sit out here for years, never put them up, and they did not do that. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But let's start cutting these vines out of here. That's the first step. So the first step is just get the vines out. You know what I mean? We got to be able to see what we got going on here. I'm a little worried that there's a snake waiting for me somewhere around here, but y'all catch it here on video. So we're just gonna do a test pull. We're right here at the first one. I don't know, yeah, you can see me. So we'll do a test pull no matter what we're pulling them today. It is absolutely time. They've been in long enough. And can somebody give me a drum roll? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is it gonna be good? All right, so we're in business. Good deal. Let's get to pulling. Say I'm a little impatient. Let's get as much of this out as we can right off the bat. Great composting material too. Absolutely great. This has been an absolute grower this year. We've got vines going in more directions than we ever anticipated. Oh. So there's a couple things to look for when you're harvesting sweet potatoes, a couple things to do and not to do. I don't know. Some people may not agree with what I'm doing right now, and it does make it a bit of a pain because it's hard to find where the sweet potato plant begins, because that's typically where you would start digging, but it's not the end of the world. So there's a lot of ways to harvest sweet potatoes, and I go over this every year because sweet potatoes are a really big crop for us. I never use any kind of tool to dig into the ground, ever. It's always hand power, and it does suck and it is exhausting, but you know what, this crop I have done so little for this crop over the year that I can take a little bit of work for one day. So I think what I want to do is let me go through and do at least half of this bed, and then I'll bring you guys back and we can kind of talk about what's going on. And I do want to give you I want to show you, I'm sure I'll be able to pull up an example of something that will protect your sweet potato harvest so that you can cure it longer. Okay, so we're about halfway through. I think I'm actually about to get into the majority of the harvest. I feel like at this point it's not, it's weird. So every year is totally different with sweet potatoes. We've had really good years, we've had not so good years, and this year is shaping up to be an interesting year, and I'll show you why. So far on our initial half bed dig, this is what we've got. Now, the reason why I say it's interesting is because we are getting a lot of uniform sized potatoes. Typically speaking, it's all over the place. So it's gonna be interesting as we go through the other half of it and see what we pull out. Our goal is to get about 40 pounds out of here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We may actually be close to that, but with fewer potatoes, but that's not the end of the world. I mean, poundage is poundage. So it just depends on how you consume them and how we use them. But we're gonna continue going through the bed and see what we come up with. But I wanna show you this right here. This is, when I said it'll make it longer to cure, that's not what I meant. I meant easier to cure and more successful. I know, 2 words versus, you know, whatever. So when you're pulling the potato out, you want to be really, like, as of right now, they're very delicate, the skin is. So you wanna be very careful about how you pull them out. And this right here, you see that? That's from my finger as I was gripping the potato to pull it out. So that's why I use my hands, because that's minimal damage. This is a rotting point as you cure and as you store it. So you really want to be very careful about that moving forward. You know, it's going to happen, but you want to keep it at a minimum. So as you're doing this, you know, like the potato was sticking in the ground like this, and I was pulling on it, and you can see right there is where I gripped it to pull it out. So just be careful of that. You know, we've often done harvests, and we'll find, you know, we'll start going through and be like, oh, there's not much, and the next thing you know, boom, there's a pocket of potatoes. And so that's what we're looking for now. To mention, I do an initial dig, and then I go back and I do a second dig, like a deeper dig after that. So this is my initial dig, and the potatoes seem to be going deeper into the ground, and that's probably from our watering practices. Not watering as much means the plant was pushing down, trying to find more water, which is okay. It's just gonna make it a little bit more difficult to dig. So I don't know how that's gonna work out. We probably watered this bed over the past 115 days 10 times, I would say, and that was through a hard drought. Then we had 15 inches of rain, and then we haven't had any rain really since then. So it's been off and on, and the soil is really dry. But again, sweet potatoes like that, and that's what makes them real moist after they cure, is that dryness from when you grew them. So we'll see how it works out. We're gonna keep going through, and I'll bring you back with our final initial dig total. If we do, or when we do our second dig, typically we only find a couple potatoes, so it's not really that big a deal, but the initial dig is where we're gonna get the majority of what we're gonna get out of our bed. Okay, I got a difficult potato to get out, and I was just gonna give you an example about how I did it. And I also found a pocket of potatoes too, so I was going to show you what a pocket of potatoes can produce. So first, the pocket. Right in this area here, I got all those potatoes. It ain't over until the fat lady sings when it comes to root crops. That's for dang sure. Now, I don't know who the fat lady is, fat man, whatever. I ain't singing, but here's the potato that we're working on. See, it's wedged in there nicely, and this may actually be a date night potato, I'm thinking. So I usually just take my finger and I work it around gently as much as possible, and then I grab, when I can get my hand on the potato, I just kind of work it like that. That's a date night potato, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what you guys think, but that's good for 2, maybe even 3 people. So we'll take it. Hole it left. Good night. So we're gonna continue this process. And really the way I do it is I go down with my hands to about the depth of the bed. The benefit is I'm hand tilling this bed, literally hand tilling this bed. And so at the same time, you know, you're getting the weeds out mostly. So it's kind of a double purpose and dual purpose thing. But you know, as you can feel that it's soft where you've dug, unless I find another potato here, and you're always probably gonna miss a potato or 2. Yeah, it's just debris. Up, up. Look at that. Nope. Just debris. But then you'll come here and you'll see where it's not really turned up. So that's how I keep track of it. So it looks like I've got this area to do left. That's done. Thank God. My hands are sore. I was super dirty. I had to wash my hands off. So this is what we got, and it's very interesting. And I noticed a growth pattern this year, which is Not what I expected, but it's fine. It's just we need to tweak a little bit. So you can see we got some pretty good sized sweet taters here. Some of these are genuinely big, and this is the most uniform harvest I've had yet. So it leads me in a couple directions about how we planted this year. Not sure about weight wise how it's going to work out. What I do know is in our family we're doing something now where we're trying to be, how do I say this, more responsible with the way we're eating. Meaning, you know, in the past, this would have been for one person, but we can split this up for all three of us. And, you know, this would be a dinner. Not a dinner, but this would be part of a dinner. So if you look at it that way, there's actually quite a bit here. So let's look at it and see how many meals we're going to get out of this 4x8 bed where we planted one plant every square foot. So let's count how many meals we'll get out of this, and then we'll go back and discuss the planting rate that we did. It'll be a healthy 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, yeah, we call this 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, yeah, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45-ish, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57. Okay, so 57, let's just call it 60. Divide that by 3. That's 30 meals that we've had. Twice, if we space it out, that would be 30 weeks at 1 meal a week. Typically, we'd probably do 2. So this would be about half of what we normally get. That being said, here's what I noticed about the growing this year, and I don't know what to think about the growth pattern, but the spacing is the one thing that I think we can really change for next year. The majority of the potatoes came out of this corner here, about right there. That's where the biggest portion came out of, and the least came out here. So if we look at that and we say, well, what's going on? Why did that happen? There's a couple things. One, this would be the sunniest part, okay? Now, I'm a little bit bewildered because this bed over here produced plenty last year, twice the amount, in less the space with less the plants. Less the plants. So now we're starting to see something. Not only that, but we have this giant corn here, which probably shaded this half of the bed to an extent. So I think, you know, every year I try to tweak something, change it. You know, this isn't life or death. I can get more potatoes if I need them. But we wanted to try the square foot gardening. You know, everybody says you can put one per square foot. That's not going to happen again. I think what we'll end up doing, so first of all, I'm not putting them in a 4x8 bed next year. In the last live, I was talking about garden design, and I've got those 2 3x6 beds. So what I'll do is I will use those 3x6 beds, both of those, for sweet potatoes next year. So they'll be about where I'm standing now. So they're going to get more sun here. So there'll be a bed here and a bed over there. And what is that? Three by, I believe they're 3 by 6. They may be 4, but let's say 3 by 6. 18 plus 18 is 32. So it's the same square footage. But what we'll do is in that 6-foot bed, instead of putting 6 in each row, we'll probably put 5 or 4 in each row. And what that'll do is that'll give the roots more room to spread, because what I noticed is not every single plant had multiple potatoes, whereas if we planted less, each plant would have multiple potatoes on them. So in reality, we're getting more because not even every plant had a potato on it. So, you know, you can kind of figure it out the way you want, but I'm believing that we're going to need to give them more space. And so we do about every 1.5 foot roughly per plant, I think is what we'll do next year. Our fertilizing was good. I think the size of the potatoes we got was because of the fertilization that we did. We only fertilized twice. And I really think that made a difference because we had less foliage. You know, the plant didn't really focus on foliage. I think it really just came down to the roots not having the space to grow. So just moving forward, we're going to tweak it again, and we're going to do the same, probably going to do the same sweet potatoes. We may do a different one, I'm not sure. But if we do, we'll use these potatoes, and then we'll just plant less. But we are going to, at the same time, fertilize the same, and we're definitely going to water the same, because the watering seemed to help. What we'll do, I mean, the way to find out is when you cook them, if they're real moist. So 2 things will treat that is the way you cure them and the way that you watered them when you grew them. And so it could be either one of those things. And in the past, I've been guilty of overwatering my sweet potatoes. So what I think we'll do next year is we'll front load a lot of watering, and then about halfway through, we'll start tapering off. And then the goal would be next year. So we always harvest this time of year, early September or late August, one of the two, usually the first week of September. And then we'll be able to go from there. So what we'll do is we'll probably not water at all from around the first or second week of August all the way unless the plants are starting to wilt or something like that. So that's how we'll manage that next year, and that should help with the texture of the potatoes, the growth rate of the greens, which feeds the potato, so on and so forth. Now we also had the deer come by and eat every leaf off the top, which definitely set them back. But at the same time, we could have let them sit, but there just comes a point where you're not really going to get much more potato. And we want to replant this bed. And look at this. All I have to do now is just pull the vines out right here and relay the lines. I've already weeded it. It's already been tilled. It's ready to go. It needs to be leveled out, fertilized, and it's ready to go. So we're going to plant these within the next couple days. So this is a quick turn and burn, right? And we're going to put in a different crop that uses nitrogen, because this didn't use nitrogen. So we should have a little bit of nitrogen built up in the soil. We're gonna add some, obviously, but that will help with this. And then we can get a second crop of something else out of here during the fall into winter. Crops and sweet potatoes are always a gamble. You never know what you're gonna get. So if you've grown sweet potatoes this year, let us know how you did. I'm happy with this. Obviously, I'd always like to have more, but we took a chance this year, and we'll continue to take chances and gambles in the future, just to kind of see and tweak our methods a little bit until we get what we want. And each year is just a step in the right direction.
Goodbye.